I don't ever want to feel any type of envy or any ill will towards someone I call a friend. Like, I repented, I said, sorry, God, but what can I do so that it won't happen again? Like, that's icky. Okay, so change of scenery. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I honestly can't tell how I look because the camera, like the little view in the camera is so small, I can't even see anything. So hopefully I don't have to record this again and I can actually post. But I'm in my living room for the first time recording because I've actually lived here in this apartment for like a month and a half and I just got a couch. No judgment, you know, I hope. I be seeing like memes of people like getting an apartment and then sleeping on the floor. So at least I had a bed, but the couch came much later. Number one, obviously money, and then number two is because I couldn't settle on what kind of couch I wanted, and it took me probably like 3 days to set this couch up by myself. And you might be wondering why it took so long. I thought couches just came like put together. Don't know why. Like, that is something that I thought, but it is. Like, I just thought they popped up like already couched, but they don't. They come in pieces and they come in boxes. You literally have to like take the pillows out of the plastic wrap. You have to screw on the little legs to the bottom. Like, it's a lot of work. So even day one, I dragged the boxes in here. Day two, I took the pieces out of the boxes because that was actually like hard work. And then day three, I like set it all up. And I just wanted so badly to just like have a man to call and be like, can you do this for me? But I don't. And that's the reality of it, which brings me, I guess, to kind of what I want to talk about today, because I actually just got back from church and the sermon was tea. So when I walked in there and I saw the sermon was going to be on generosity, I kind of like did myself a disservice because I already was about to like tune out. Because for me, it's like I figured the pastor was just going to talk about tithing and offering, and those are things that I already do. Like, I personally have never had problems in terms of generosity to the church, because growing up, my mom, ever since I could remember, like elementary school, I have been tithing, because if I got money for my birthday, best believe that 10% was going in an envelope with my name on it and going to the church secretary. Like, even if it was just $50, I had to tithe. Like, my mom made me. So growing up, that was just a habit. It was second nature. So when I got my first job, tithe on my very first check. Every single check I've ever gotten in my entire life, I have always given tithes. Always. Like, there's never been a time where I did not tithe. And God has blessed me exponentially when it comes to my finances. And I'm not saying that that's why. I'm not saying if you tithe, you're gonna get money back. Like, you might, but you know, for me, it was just a heart thing. So now, because my mom was just so good and she instilled that quality in me at a young age, it is something that thankfully I don't have an issue with doing now. I think every single person, like, that being said, I think every single person could benefit from more financial wisdom. So me tuning out or about to tune out was not it. Like, I checked myself immediately, but I'm admitting it because I'm sure other people do that too when they get up, get ready, go to church, thinking they're going to hear something, and then the pastor's talking about tithing. Like, at the end of the day, it's always good to hear that. Whether you do it consistently or you don't, I think it's still good to hear that message. But yeah, no, he didn't take it where I thought he was going to take it. And the sermon today was just really good. Like, I can't even go into detail because he just broke it down so well. If anybody wants, I could probably link it to this video. It's probably not posted yet, but I could link their YouTube channel in my bio if anybody wants. But he kind of read me because he talked about how greed is a form of idolatry essentially, and greed is just covetousness. And it stems from just us not being content with what we have and what God has given us right now. Like, obviously, we always hear people say, when I get this, then I'll be happy. When I get this house, when I get this job, when I make this amount of money, when I get a man, etc., then I'll be happy. Then I'll be content. God, I promise. Like, no, we need to be happy with what we have now. Because for me, and what he was saying is, when you're not content with what you have, that is what leads to like coveting what other people have and wanting what other people have. And you will never be content if you're always wanting more and you're not happy with the amount that you have now or what you have now. And since, like, for me, because he was referring to a plethora of things, not just money. But for me, like, I think it registered more in terms of me wanting somebody else's looks or wanting somebody else's life. Like, wow, they live in a great apartment. Like, they're super gorgeous. They stay at home. They don't have to go to work, whether that's because they make money off of like social media or whatever. Like, they're in a relationship. That would be nice to have. Like, I wish I could have that. And the whole idea of like, I wish, it just further progresses your discontentment. And it's just fostering such a negative mindset, for me at least, because I'm always coveting what the next person has. And he used an example that was really funny. It was cracking me up. But now I'm like, wow, I feel convicted, because yeah, that's me. He was like, basically, you know, you go out, let's say you go out and you buy the newest car, 2024, super expensive, super shiny, super nice. You pull up to church early, like on time, park in the front row. You know, you want people to see, you got the windows down, you blasting your music. You want them to see that you're the one in that car. You park, and then, you know, like, I don't know, a week or a month later, because nowadays things are coming out so fast. You can never have the new thing. You can never, because like, it's keeping up with the Joneses. Like, there's always going to be something newer, something more expensive, something prettier. So the next month you come to church, you pull up in that same car, somebody pulls and parks next to you, and they have the latest version of what you have, and you see what they have, and now you're thinking what you have is not good enough because you want that. And it read me, because no, I don't care about cars. But for me, that could be applied to anything in my life. Literally anything. Like, as a girl, you might be able to relate to this. As a man, you might think this is stupid. But my hair is curly now, obviously. So I straightened my hair last month, right? I got a silk press, super cute, super great, super fresh, you know. But I paid the money to get my hair done, and like, I'm feeling great about myself leaving the salon. I leave the salon, then I see a very cutesy girl rocking her natural hair, and I'm like, dang, now I kind of want my curls back. And it's like, no, you don't. It's just because you saw her with that and you're comparing yourself to that person. Now you're coveting what she has, and you're not content with what you have now. Which is crazy, because I was fine with it a couple minutes ago before I saw that. And so for me, I think I just need to work on catching myself in that I wish phase, or in that, like, while I'm formulating that desire, before that even happens, bringing it to God, allowing him to convict me and like get rid of that from within me before it develops into idolatry, covetousness, greed, etc. So yeah, I just thought that was very well said by him, and it was a very timely message, even though it was unexpected. Didn't think I was going to be able to relate to today's sermon, but every word I surely did. And I'm actually about to rewatch that sermon because when I have time, I definitely like to do that. So sometimes you'll see me furiously taking notes in church, but lately I've kind of stopped because, and this is just my learning style. So when I was in school, I did this too, where I couldn't take notes because I couldn't listen and take notes at the same time. And by listen, I mean like comprehend, like actively comprehend. And so in church lately, I have just been listening. And then when I get the chance, I will rewatch the sermon and then take notes. So it's like I'm hearing it twice, and then I actually get to be active and engaged during the live sermon. And yeah, so for me, y'all, I'd say, just being transparent, I've been struggling more so with, like I mentioned earlier, coveting like what other women have. And some days I'll be great. Like some days I will like be in this little 700 square foot apartment and I'll be happy as can be. Like this morning, that was me. I was blasting my gospel music. I was doing my wash and go, which was not a wash and go because it literally took 2 hours. I was walking around, no clothes on, like no worries, not a worry in the world. I go out to get food. I come back. I eat it by myself. I watch something on my phone. Or like today after church, I went to brunch by myself, sat at a table by myself, ate my little chicken and waffles. And I was just so happy because in my head, I was like, wow, I get to eat at whatever pace I want. Like when I go on dates, I be picking up my food because it's like, I don't want them to see me eat this entire meal. Like that's not ladylike. Or like I'm a very slow eater. If you know me, you're probably annoyed because when you go to eat with me, I'm always the last person to finish. And I get self-conscious about that sometimes, like especially if I'm on a date and I'm like, eating so slow, I'll just ask for it to go because I don't want to hold that person up. But today I was like, this feels amazing. I can take my time and just sit and eat as slow as I want and finish my food. And I don't really have to worry about what anybody's thinking of me because I'm by myself. And it's just awesome. And it's moments like that where I'm just so joyful to be single and I'm just enjoying and I'm so content with being by myself. And just trying to bask in this singleness while I have it. And there are other days where, and it's usually because I find myself in a situation where I see somebody else and let's say they're in a relationship and they're out and about and they look like they're really enjoying themselves. I would say like 9 times out of 10, it's not something I see in person though. It is something I see online. And that's why social media can be dangerous because it really causes me to, it shakes my contentment. Like I find myself really firm in Jesus and firm in where he has me until I spend too much time on social media because it takes my eyes away from Jesus and puts it on whatever it is I'm watching. And when my eyes are on somebody else's life for too long, that is when I tend to develop those beginning stages of either covetousness, jealousy, like envy, discontentment. That's when those start to form, is when my eyes are no longer consistently pointed on Jesus, but on my screen while I'm looking at like couples on TikTok or girls who have these lavish lives where they're living in like penthouses with like the floor to ceiling windows and the nice sunsets. It's like, dang, that's gotta be like a $3,000 rent that you're paying a month. And it just has me like, dang, well then I wish I could make that much money to be able to afford that. And then it's like girls, I'm watching on my phone, they always have their hair done, they always have super nice clothes. And then there's me, literally I'm wearing stuff that I've had since high school. And this is my hairdo 11 out of the 12 months out of the year. because I'm like, I don't know where these girls constantly have the funds to always look put together. But, you know, once I'm harping on that for too long, it's just like, wow, am I not good enough? I wish I had that. And that's where that like, I wish kind of starts, and that develops into what I have is just not good enough. And that develops into I need more. I need more, fill in the blank. I need more money. I need more friends, because they look like they're having so much fun with their big friend groups and like BFFs, stuff that I don't have. I need a man. Fill in the blank. It could be anything, you know, but that is usually, for me at least, caused by comparison, and comparison can't happen if your eyes are only on Jesus, right? So that doesn't mean like you can't ever see things without feeling something negative. I'm just saying when your eyes are on, I'll speak for myself, I'll speak in the first person. When my eyes are on someone else's life more than they're on my life and my relationship with Jesus, that is just gonna lead to all types of bad feelings, like feelings that I don't want, because sometimes I'll be sitting here and I'm just not that kind of person. But when I feel like any type of envy boiling up inside of me, sometimes I get really angry at myself, because it's like, girl, that's not you. Like, why are you feeling that way? And I really have to like peel back the layers and figure out where this is coming from. And that's why this sermon today was just so on time, because it really had me hold a mirror up to myself and be able to recognize that sin for what it is, and recognize where it's coming from, where it's starting. So, you know, too much time on social media, all that to say, too much time on social media is not good for anybody. I don't care how strong you are, how healthy you think you are. It's always going to foster some sort of like either resentment, envy, anger, idolatry, anything. It's gonna stir up something within you, and it's just so accessible. And like the pastor was saying, he was like, you know, it's 2024, so we have this stuff now, but jealousy, anger, strife, pridefulness, idolatry, those things existed a long time ago, before there was ever social media. So it's not to say that that is the only way you're gonna develop those feelings, but right now in 2024, that is kind of the primary culprit, at least for me. And even if you don't have social media, I'm trying to think like, what did they do before before iPhones? Like, I guess it's just in person. Like, you know, that happened to me one time though. Like, I was hanging out with a friend and I found myself kind of resenting her a little bit. And I had to figure out why. And I prayed about it and I reflected. And I do believe it was because I developed a little bit of envy, like jealousy towards her. And I think for me, and I'm still kind of figuring out what that meant and why. But I do think what I know now is that I was putting myself on a pedestal, right? When it came to, and again, this is me being transparent, so I really hope nobody's going to judge me, but I put myself on a pedestal because I grew up not having a lot of self-esteem. And so now finally in my late 20s, I've been able to develop that respect for myself. But I reached a point where it was a little excessive. Too much of anything is not good. And I was liking myself too much, I guess. I don't want to say liking myself too much, but I do love myself, but I was valuing my appearance too much. I'll say that. And so I always had to look a certain way, had makeup on, my hair and this and that. And I put myself up there like, I am beautiful and I'm finally feeling good in my skin. But then it would, cause me, since I put so much value on looks, it caused me to compare myself to other people's looks, which I was doing before when I didn't have self-esteem. But now that I have too much, I found myself doing it again, which is so weird. And I was comparing myself before. I was like, wow, that person looks way better than me. Like, I wish I looked like that person. But now, not now, but, eventually it turned into, I was putting myself up there like, I'm like I'm a 10 out of 10. There's no way this guy would like this girl over me. And one day when it happened, I was just so shocked. I was so perplexed. And I am not a Beyonce. Trust me, I understand. I'm not even close to that. I'm sure you're looking at this like, girl, you have no right to be thinking those things. But, the devil plays tricks on you. I'm telling you, not even the devil. I be playing tricks on myself. Like, I did this to myself. But, when your flesh kind of takes precedence over Jesus, and you're valuing things of the flesh more than you're valuing what Jesus thinks of you, then, that could cause anybody to think really crazy thoughts. So that's where these thoughts are coming from, guys. I know they're crazy and I know they're wild. But when it finally happened and somebody liked somebody, like a friend over me, somebody being a male, obviously, and I was just perplexed, and it caused me to like spiral, because I'm like, there's no way I look like this and she looks like that. And that's such a disgusting thing to think from me. But again, it's such a perverted thought. Like, it's crazy how the devil can pervert something as simple as self-esteem and respect for yourself, because that's what self-esteem means, self-respect. Something as simple and pure as that, and pervert it into being boastful or idolizing yourself, being vain. It's crazy, but he perverts these things that God has given us, right? Because essentially that's where a lot of sin comes from. It's like an excessive amount of something that shouldn't be bad, or taking something good and perverting it, and it coming from that. Because money is not evil, right? 1 Timothy, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It doesn't say money is evil. So the devil perverts these things that were not made for evil. He perverts it and uses it for his weird plans. And so I spiraled, and I just couldn't put the pieces together. I couldn't figure it out. And it had me comparing myself to her, and then being like, well, maybe I need to do XYZ because she does XYZ. And it just had me, it just had me in a bad place. But it just had me feeling like there's no way that a guy would prefer her over me, when I've done so much and put so much into my appearance and worked so hard to look a certain way. Like, I've done all that I can do and to better my looks, and someone still chooses another girl over me. When, now that I say it out loud, it sounds crazy, because it doesn't matter, externally what we try to do to make ourselves more like the world. We will never be good enough for the world, and we will never be good enough when we are put against worldly standards, right? Because the world is unfair. The world is not just. God is just. The world is not just in their decisions and what they decide as being good or the best. and how they rank things, right? The world doesn't make sense. It's confusing. God is not confusing. So everything God is, the world and our flesh and Satan, it's the opposite. So the fact that I even thought that trying to be more worldly, like trying to fit in this world by having a certain hairstyle or having a certain look or acting a certain way, talking a certain way, the fact that I even thought by doing those things to please the world would bring me any source of peace, comfort, or contentment is crazy, right? And just like the pastor was saying this morning, I do believe that if I would have caught it in the early stages, right, before it formed into any type of envy or covetousness towards my friend, before that even happened, if I would have just learned to be content in myself, I don't think it would have developed into that, because for me personally, there's just no other answer. Like, I kept asking God, like, what did I do? What could I have done to prevent that from happening? I don't ever want to feel any type of envy or any ill will towards someone I call a friend. Like, I repented, I said, sorry, God, but what can I do so that it won't happen again? Like, that's icky. I don't want to feel that way. I don't like that, right? I love myself, but I love her and I love you. So I don't ever want those thoughts to be in my head towards another person again, and especially not towards someone I love. And God doesn't give quick answers. He doesn't give, and by quick, I mean like microwave answers. Sometimes he answers people instantly, but in my experience, I don't know if it's because I am a naturally impatient person and that's something that God wants to work on in me, and I'm learning to trust him more. So the way he responds to me is over time, because he wants me to build that trust and believe that he is good and he is going to answer me in his own time. So that's something that I'm learning now. But, and for as far as that situation goes, of course, I prayed about it many times, but I think God is giving me bits and pieces of the entirety of his response to me so that I can continue leaning in to hear him and hear his voice. So today, that's why I thought the sermon was so timely, because I feel like it was a part of God's answer to me regarding that situation and that prayer. So now my next step is kind of learning what it means to be content with my life and with myself, because I do think there is a difference, obviously, between being happy with how I look and being content with what God has given me. Because if there wasn't a difference, then I don't think I would have been in that situation. But there is. And I think it has to do with, it has to do with who I am as a person. Like, I had to answer that question a while ago, and I actually journaled about it. I might grab my journal so that I can read it. But learning who I am means learning who I am in Christ. I am Jesus's, right? I belong to God. And people are supposed to see Jesus in me. Because I was asking God, like, why do I feel like I don't have a personality? Like, I don't really know who I am. Like, am I a funny person? Am I a serious person? Like, am I one of those, like, weird people? Which I am. I am very weird. I'm a little socially awkward and a little bit weird. So I feel like, I've always struggled, because I've always latched on to other people and other people's personalities, because I had so much trouble trying to find who I was in this world. And it wasn't until like this month, not to be dramatic, this year, until like I finally am starting to realize who I am. And that's come with knowing God more. That has come with searching the Bible for Jesus and learning who Jesus is through the context of the Bible and through the Holy Spirit showing me things in my day-to-day life. So the more I learn about Jesus, the more I learn who I am, which is crazy. It took me this long to figure that out, but I'm grateful that God is showing it to me now. And yeah, when people be like, Jesus is my whole personality, they ate. Because that's true. Like, I hate to be that person, but Jesus is my whole personality. Like, that is, it will never fail. If you're hanging out with me for longer than like a couple minutes, like, I feel like I'm always going to bring up Jesus, because I really don't be having nothing else to talk about. I'm not going to lie. And that might make me boring, and that's fine. Because like I said, I'm a little socially awkward. So I don't have great social cues. And any opportunity is a good opportunity to bring up Jesus. I'm getting sidetracked again. I'm so sorry. This video better not be an hour long, because I'm not editing an hour-long video. But yeah, so figuring out who I am in Jesus, figuring out my personality in Jesus, in my opinion, is how I will learn to be content in myself, like internally, because that's who I am, right? My spirit, my inner being, that is who I am. And I can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on my external, right? But that is not going to last, right? The verse, don't know where it comes from, the one that talks about not storing up treasures here on earth where moths can get to it, but storing up treasures in heaven, right? Because that's what is eternal. That's what matters. And that is essentially what we are doing as believers by being obedient to the call and being obedient to forming this relationship with God and seeking him out in his word. That is what we're doing. We are storing up treasure in heaven. We are building ourselves spiritually and learning who Jesus is. But when we put so much effort, excessively put so much effort into things that are not going to last, i.e. the earthly body, when we do that, it is pointless, because moths don't just get to like treasure, like food and like clothes and gold. We don't really use that anymore, but money. Like, they don't just get to that. They're going to get to our bodies too. Like, when you die and you go into the grave, the maggots are going to get your body. That sounds very vulgar and disgusting, but it's true. So it's not saying neglect your temple. Like, I still work out. I'm a physical therapist. I value physical health, hygiene, the whole 9 yards. I value that. And you should too, because your body is a temple of the living God. But when you excessively put too much emphasis, money, resources, time into your external appearance, it causes you to make that an idol, right? So when something comes against your idol, you become defensive. You develop a little bit of anger, strife, resentment, whatever it is, because something is coming against something that you hold in high regards. And that's what I meant by putting myself up on a pedestal. Nothing good comes out of that. So for me, I do believe that situation could have been prevented if I had stayed focused on Jesus, like kept my eyes on Jesus, continued to put emphasis on him and my heavenly treasure, and not put emphasis on the things that will not last, which is my appearance. Because at the end of the day, and this is something else I journaled on, let's say you do get married, right? If that man or woman values you for your personal appearance, they ain't gonna value you too much longer, because 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, we all age, and this is not gonna last. This is going to go away. That is guaranteed. You look at the most rich people in the world, and they cannot even keep up. They cannot keep this same face when they're 80. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can literally get a face transplant and it still is not going to look the same as when you were 20. You will never be that young again. So for you to put your value and your worth in that, you are 100% always going to be disappointed. And that's what I was. I was disappointed. I was disappointed that someone didn't value my looks in a certain way, because I put so much of my value and my worth in it. So I just couldn't fathom or believe that someone else would view me differently, But something that is indisputable is Jesus, right? Something that nobody could ever tell me otherwise about is my love for Jesus. Nobody. You can't argue with me on that. You can't. And then I just think that the third thing that I could have done to prevent myself from developing feelings of envy towards a friend would have been to constantly remember that I'm supposed to be loving my neighbor as I love myself. And the Bible doesn't say to love yourself more than other people. It never says that. In fact, it says, consider yourself as like a servant. Consider yourself as lower than another person, holding them, serving them and loving them. And I was just doing the opposite. I was valuing myself way more. I was considering myself as being prettier, better, richer, wiser, whatever than someone else. And that's just not right. That ain't right. Like, that is never gonna get you anywhere. It's gonna set you backwards, actually. So it's okay to respect yourself and be content with yourself, but it's a whole nother thing to see yourself and view yourself as being better than another person, especially when that's why I never really liked when people were like, oh, I'm God's favorite, he don't play about me, yeah. And I was just babbling that, repeating that like a fool, which we all do. We see and hear people say something and we run with it. And that's just what got me into this predicament. Because I am not God's favorite. God loves me so much, but he loves her so much. Like, I'm no better than her. Nobody's perfect, not one except for Jesus. So what would make me think that I'm like top 10? Who put out those rankings? Me. I made them myself. So it's like, I don't care how much you serve at the homeless shelter, what dog you save from dying on the side of the street. I don't care if you're Mother Teresa. I don't care if you look like Beyonce. I don't care if you have money like Elon Musk. You are not better than the guy down the street. You're just not. So knocking myself down a couple steps and remembering why I'm here on earth, and it ain't to look a certain way, get a certain guy, achieve this accomplishment, win this award. It's not for that. It's to bring heaven here on earth, serving God, serving his people, right? Those are all connected. Sharing what my knowledge of Jesus Christ to other people who may not know, they're all connected. That's why I'm here. And constantly reminding myself of that is a necessity, because how quickly I can forget, and it causes me to be in situations like the one I just described. So yeah, that is kind of what I've learned this week. And I hope you guys gained something. from listening to me babble about my insecurities and my mess ups. And it's not to put myself down. It's not to overshare. It's just to be transparent so that somebody can relate and hopefully do better than me. Do better than, like, learn from my mistakes. That's what I mean by do better than me. Like, learn from my mistakes. I don't want people to go through the same things that I go through and be so confused and just like not really know why they're feeling a certain way or what next step to take. Like, I would hope by watching this would help you in some way, shape, or form. And of course, always take it to God first. Always pray about it. Plead to him. Repent, and he will show you the way. He will give you an answer, even if it's not right away. It might take some time for him to answer you, but like, write it down. Write your prayers down, because it's important. Because at least for me, I'm forgetful. So if you write it down and you're constantly going back to it, you can remind yourself of what you're asking God for so that you can recognize his answer. Because if you forget the question and he answers you, you're not going to be able to put 2 and 2 together. And yeah, so that's my 5 cents. And I am signing off. I hope you guys have a blessed week. I am going to try to post. I know my goal is to post once a week, but I do want to start posting twice a week. I just feel like I don't have enough to talk about, but we shall see. And yeah, logging off. Bye.